Always.
And I meet them.
What? That's all you have to do is turn it up?
Oh my god, that's cute.
Are those the crickets that we put on it like months ago? Fuck having Enzo write a jingle, let's just... Yes. I hope this isn't like 3 minutes long. I think it's a loop. We should just leave it on and then like stay in silence until the guest says something and just like see them interact with it.
Oh, this is too much power in my hands right now.
What's this one?
Jesus. That's really
I feel like this
I
one.
like this one the best. Hi guys, and welcome to episode 18 of Unsigned Berlin. Today we have Hodder, otherwise known as our friend Oscar Hodder. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Super excited to have you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah. So should we just get started with some
snippet?
Oh yes, a snippet of Hodder Selects.
Of an unreleased track.
Or of an unreleased track?
Yeah.
Do you have a name for it, or is it unreleased?
No, not yet.
Number
Maybe
one.
there'll be one when it comes up on the screen, but I can't think of it at the moment.
Okay, nice.
We also have headphones this episode.
Yes.
We're so professional.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, do we want to start with you first getting into production, like how you got interested in it, how you even found out it's a thing, because I feel like lots of people don't know about it. And you've been producing for a solid 5 years. So.
Yeah, thereabout, yeah. Well, I was really into electronic music growing up. Like my dad was really into it and he always influenced me listening to people like the Chemical Brothers and the Prodigy, like really big UK dance acts. And as I got older, I got more into like kind of underground dance music with like drum and bass. Growing up in the UK, it was massive there. And was just like really into going to raves and then started DJing. And then eventually I wanted to just do something more. And I, knew that people were producing their own tracks. And I thought, it'd be cool to learn how to do it. So I started really, really simply with like a demo of Fruity Loops, and I think I did that when I was about 15, nearly 16, and then just started from there really.
How did you maintain the balance between musical research and going to clubs and setting kind of these DJ acts?
Well,
and then how did you balance that with making? Or was there just a whole period of listening and learning and then you started, or
were you old enough to go to clubs?
Oh,
yeah, no,
that's true.
I wasn't when I was 15, 16. So I was just going to like raves or parties around the area or using like dodgy phone IDs to get into clubs. And then, I just was really into the music, but I didn't know so much about it, obviously, because I'd never researched production before. So it was a mixture of just digging for stuff off the internet to try and build a bit of knowledge and just using my ears, I guess. But it wasn't until maybe a year later where I decided that I wanted to study music production at a somewhat, proper level. And that's when I went to college.
What college were you going to?
It's called Northampton College, Booth Lane. It's got a bit of a weird reputation around Northampton, but the music production department is actually like one of the best in the country. So I was very, very grateful to be so close to that.
Yeah. And then at that point when you were first starting, for me, I started with samples because I was into hip hop and it seemed really natural and it was easy to take something that was like music already, so it already sounded fairly good and you can do lo-fi and stuff, but I feel like that maybe isn't an option if you're doing like drum and bass and stuff. What do you start off doing?
Yeah, it was definitely using a lot of samples as well, especially like drum hits, just getting samples of Splice or buying sample packs. But also I was really fascinated about those like really signature bass sounds that you hear in drum and bass. I was fascinated about how I would go about making them. So I started to learn a bit of sound design. I got Serum and then eventually bought it. It's like my proudest moment when I got Serum, and just learned that quite well. But yeah, also sampling was definitely important for me, with like breaks and vocal samples and stuff like that.
And then when you were in college, were you still using Fruity Loops? Or
I was using Fruity Loops up till about 2 years ago. Then I made the switch to Ableton.
Why did you change?
I think everyone within the scene of the music that I make pretty much uses Ableton. Yeah. So I was just curious on maybe why that is. Tried it for a bit and kind of instantly loved it and never really looked back. Yeah.
How did switching DAWs change your sound? Do you feel like there was any change at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I was already making techno by the time it came to using Ableton, so it was like, very loopy, very repetitive. But when I made the move, seeing all the sounds in a session view, all laid neatly, and then being able to loop it as long as I want and kind of adjust parameters on the fly and give it more of a live feel, definitely changed the sound, 100%.
And around this time, was that when you were starting your live recordings in your bedroom of sessions? Or was this later? Because I know that I've seen a few like Hodder live recordings.
Oh, yeah. That was only because I had access to the equipment through our uni. And that was probably like 6 months ago where I started doing that. But I've only done it a handful of times because it's really a pain setting everything up for like 3 days of work and then taking it all back down again. So yeah, most of it is all in the computer.
Okay. So now you're going to also focus more on your DJing at Void, which is super cool. And you're a resident DJ there.
Yeah, I'm a resident for limo parties, not for Void itself, but for the limo parties,
How did that happen?
Well, a friend of mine who I met through uni, she doesn't go there anymore. She studies music business. And I met her in a bar, and they had a DJ there. And I said, I'm a DJ. I would love to come and play some music. But it didn't really fit the vibe of what I would want to play, which is like quite fast, not too fast, but fast-ish techno with a lot of groove. And it was like quite a casual bar setting, so it didn't really fit. I sent her a mix. She was like, not really the vibe, but I'll keep you in mind. And eventually she started her own party, and she hit me up saying, do you want to play?
And those are the limo parties?
Yeah.
Right. What's the idea behind those parties? Do you know? Well,
I'm not sure about an idea, really. Just putting on a party and getting artists together and just putting on a good night, which is something I'm all for. Yeah.
And then, you were talking about using Session View in Ableton, which, for people who aren't into production, is like a series of loops that you set up that aren't in a linear way, like a song would be. You can select which ones are playing at one time and it loops. For that, how much are you thinking about structure when you're doing it? Or is it just like, let's find interesting pockets, and then once I've got a bunch of stuff, I'll figure it out?
Absolutely. That is exactly that, yeah. I don't think about really a song. Perhaps what I will do is, if there's maybe a synth that has a parameter that I tweak and it sounds really cool when I kind of tweak through it, maybe I'll save that so I can come back to it when I'm in the arrangement stage and build it up over time and back down to create some movement. When I'm just thinking about what would sound good in this world of sound, basically.
Yeah. And then is it EPs that you have on SoundCloud that are like Hodder 1, Hodder 2, etc.?
No,
sets.
Those are just DJ mixes that I started doing a couple of years ago now for fun. I haven't released one in ages actually, but should get back on them. They're a lot of fun.
More Hodder selects, please.
I think I should get back on it.
For those, how much of it is your own music versus other tracks that you found?
No, I've never played my own music in those sets. Yeah.
But in your DJ sets, for sure. Obviously.
No, rarely. I still consider myself quite new to techno production, and I'm always a bit nervous to hear my own tracks amplified super loud on a sound system, especially when there's a crowd there. Like if it doesn't hit right, then it can be not a great time, but I should have more confidence, I think, in that regard. And,
it's also worth testing.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what makes it really useful, just a place to test music. Yeah,
we'll see. Maybe it turns out to be really positive, and then bit of a boost on like confidence, maybe.
Mm-hmm. If you were to include one of your own tracks, how would you include it in your set? Would you start at the middle or the end or the beginning?
I would just. Yeah, probably just in between. I would just hit play and then bring it in kind of whenever it feels right. But to be honest, there's not really like much variation in it. There's some changes, but it's relatively just the same loop going for 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah. I guess it also makes sense to kind of sneak it in because if you're, regardless whether it's your own or someone else's, you kind of want to test something first before making it like a final couple tracks or the beginning to open up a...
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
How much, when you are doing, when you're DJing, how much are you like watching the crowd and trying to match an energy and build something? Or is it a lot of like pre-prepared, like structure around the set? How do you do that?
I would say it's a healthy mixture of both. So I definitely do pre-prepare tracks, mainly ones that I just really like, that I want to hear played and, get a vibe off people around it. And, yeah, definitely there is some reading the crowd and trying to find a track that fits the right mood. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely just finding a balance between preparation and spontaneity, I guess.
What's the hardest part with that in terms of reading a crowd? To the beginning, I'd imagine?
Sorry?
Is it the beginning, I'd imagine? Like when it's first going?
Yeah, the beginning can be weird. Yeah, I think you're definitely right there. Once you get into the flow, maybe after like 10, 15 minutes, and you get a sense for the space you're in and the people, and it all kind of flows naturally from there. Yeah, most of the time.
I guess the people also get a sense of the space, and like for me
absolutely.
It takes 10, 15 minutes if I'm gonna.
Yeah, you need some time just to get comfortable, I guess.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the music plays, like you said, fast. Not like for me, not undanceably fast, but it's on the high end of that. So it's like more to settle people into maybe. Though maybe not. I don't know. I feel like Berlin's there's a lot of people that are really into techno here. Have you?
Yeah.
So there's a few of us. Yeah.
Small few.
How have you found that community in terms of coming in as a foreigner that didn't speak German when you got here completely?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great just to be in a city where it's really, really appreciated, and there's so much opportunity just for fans and for dancers to go and find an experience that suits them. Yeah, like there's so many different types, and there's something for everyone. So yeah, really, really happy about that. Yeah.
How would you categorize your own? I don't know a lot about EDM genres, so
my own music or like my own preferences.
Your own music and also your sets. I don't know if there's a difference. If you'd consider the one.
Well, my sets are. I don't usually stick to like one subgenre. I kind of go through a different blend. Maybe start off with some deeper tracks, and then I really, really love old school techno. So from like the years of late 90s to early 2000s, it's like so many people love that year. But it is really, really great music from that time. So yeah, like a mixture of deeper tracks maybe to start, and then some old school tracks, some newer stuff, and I don't really like think about it too much. I just listen to a lot of music, and as soon as I find something I like, I'm like, that'll go in one day.
It's more a natural progression.
Yeah, I guess.
I've heard from a lot of stage performers that they get into a kind of zone where they are doing things, like they'll be singing or they'll be performing, but they kind of get into like a very focused state. Do you feel like that happens to you? Is there a certain point where things kind of switch over to autopilot and you're just really feeling it and in the zone? Or are you always kind of alert and activated? And
yeah, I think the autopilot mode that you speak of definitely happens. But then maybe you'll be a bit too relaxed and you'll do something wrong, and then you kind of sharpen up again and remind yourself that you have to be really present. But also, like you want to enjoy the moment, and just you don't want to like be stressing about it, because it's not a stressful thing. It's just playing music. Yeah. So yeah, I just have fun with it.
Do you come back more focused though when you mess up? Because for me, I start to get nervous, and then my hands get slippery.
Good question. Yeah, I'd probably get more focused. Yeah. I would say.
That's cool. I wish I had that.
Yeah. But I definitely get nervous as well. But yeah.
What was your experience like when you first started DJing and playing in clubs? Like, what was the hardest part for you and the biggest challenge, or, you know, getting used to that?
And was that in Berlin or was that at home?
Yeah.
Well, the first time I ever played in a club was not in Berlin. It was in the town I'm from again, Northampton. Mm-hmm. And I think I was like 17, maybe nearly 17, like 16-ish or something. And me and a group of friends, we just heard about this little nightclub that was on this street called Gold Street, and you could rent it out for not too much money. And it had like quite a loyal following from music fans around the area, so we thought we'd come together, put on a night. The first night went really well, even though I wasn't actually there, because I accidentally like had a holiday planned for the time. Yeah, okay, so I got it all, you know, was with them for the whole preparation, and then a few weeks before I was like, oh shit, I've got a holiday. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
It's fine. Jack started it.
Okay, nice.
Just gave
Thanks, Jack. Yeah. So, yeah. Sorry, where was I?
First
Gold
DJ set.
Gold Street. Yeah. So we went to that club. Put on the first party was good. The second one, where I could actually be there, second one was great as well. And that was the first time I ever played to a crowd. I closed the night, nice. And yeah, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Like the club it's so weird. Like you couldn't even use their decks unless you wanted to pay like a huge amount of money. So I just brought like my own really, really old, huge pair of Newmark, kind of like a controller, but wasn't really a controller. So I just like lugged that along the town with me in a bin bag, brought it there. And I had so many problems, so, you know, I was lucky that it didn't go wrong. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was my first time. I didn't find that stressful either. Really? I think, yeah, because it was my first time. I was also like pretty drunk when I came to play. So yeah, it didn't really bother me. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that backstage privilege where you're 17, exactly. You couldn't get in the club, but you can be...
Showing them the ID on the phone.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Phone IDs. Was your same name on the phone ID?
No. Oh, sorry. I thought
Hodder
you meant my artist name. Oh. It's the same name on my phone, yeah. So you just like edit the... This is some advice for any people that want to do it, but yeah, you just edit it on Snapchat.
Nah, I feel like clubs have stopped allowing that now because kids have been good enough.
I think we actually, funnily enough, some of my friends went back to that club like last year when they were all 20 or 19, and they saw the bouncer and they said to him, do you remember us? Like those young kids who were like, yeah, none of us were 18, and the bouncer was like, yeah, I kind of knew that.
I knew.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah. Though
nice.
I don't know if this is real, and it's probably just stuff like kids make up to be like, oh yeah, we can go in. But I think the idea behind the phone thing is if you lie to them, then they're not like liable anymore if there's an issue.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it didn't work. It didn't work everywhere though.
Yeah,
it was a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it's the best places. That like it's the places with the most like new humble beginnings. You know.
Yeah. Like the most relaxed door policies when it comes to
illegal drinking.
Oh my! But still really cool regardless. Yeah. So really, you weren't nervous at all. Like it was.
I was nervous, but
but
again, like you said, that you as soon as you get there, you do kind of get in this autopilot mode where everything flows and it just makes sense. Like you know, you've done it loads. It's like any performer you've practiced countless times, and you get nervous before like I'm suddenly going to forget everything. But no, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah,
and then so that was in the UK, and did you do more shows as well in the UK before you moved out here?
No, not really. I did one. We did one more party, the same one, and we did that the month after, and it didn't do so well. So it kind of demotivated us all a bit, and we just packed it in. So yeah, that was the only times I've played in the UK, and then my next gig after that was in Berlin,
right,
under a new name and whole new music genre.
What was your old music persona?
Let me think. I've had quite a few. At the time, I think it was...
I want to know all of them.
Yeah, shit, okay. Where did it start? I think it started off originally as like Aussie D&B, which is still like my PayPal name. So it's really embarrassing when I have to PayPal something. I think then it was like Aboriginal. Aboriginal was my latest drum and bass.
Why Australia themed?
It just sounded cool. It sounded cool.
Fair.
Yeah, and that was the last really of my drum and bass. Yeah, aliases.
And now you're Hodder.
Now I'm Hodder. Yeah, I've always been Hodder. You know, with that last name, there's no running away from it. But
It's cool. I think it's like a very DJ name.
Yeah,
thank you. It happened that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, I thought about changing it. I mean, I always think about changing it, but I'm going to stick with it for now.
I think stick with it. I also had the same thing where we were talking about this, trying to come up with an artist name, and I came up with stuff that I would always hate like a couple of weeks later, and just your actual name.
And then you always get these new ideas. You'll see something like, that's a cool name, you know.
But if it's your own name, you can't. It's less of an option, I think, to switch.
That's true. Yeah.
And where was that? Your first show in Berlin?
That was at Killy Kulturhaus, which is just next door.
I was there, I think.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah,
I was. Yeah.
So it was. It's right next door to Void.
Yeah.
And that was my first Berlin gig. That was also with Limo.
Yeah. How was your experience different with crowds in Berlin versus crowds in UK?
Well, in the UK, the crowds, for one, the genre was definitely a factor in that, because I felt less pressure when I was mixing drum and bass, because I think the DJing style is very, very different, and it's less about really kind of forming a story and more about just playing banger after banger. Yeah, right. And also the crowds are a lot, in general, are a lot less picky, really. So they're just happy to hear a great tune and then another great tune, whereas I feel like techno crowds, they want a bit more nuance and a bit more twists and turns, so to speak. So, do
you reckon that's because it's a bigger culture as well? Because I feel like drum and bass is relatively small as a community versus techno.
I think it's just the way that techno has come to be over the years. I'm not really, don't really know why, but I guess with drum and bass, it's like the structure is really like intro, build up, / intro, and then drop. Whereas techno is more of an evolving thing in the music, so it probably translates into the way that people DJ as well. I would guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe that also reflects the different people and the different backgrounds that have all been drawn to the city, because maybe they're all expecting different things versus maybe like more straightforward drum and bass tracks in the UK, because it's kind of like the home of drum and bass. But I feel like Berlin is the home of so many different people and cultures that maybe that's why there's more nuance. And
perhaps. It does seem to have a lot more flexibility within it, even though there's some like stylistic tropes that have its limitations. But within that, there's so much to explore. I think more than drum and bass. So that's what attracted me, really.
Do you see yourself ever going back to drum and bass for DJing?
Maybe.
Or for a track?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think about it all the time. Maybe trying a drum and bass track. I still listen to it like almost every day. Really, really love it. And it's a huge part of who I am. So, definitely haven't forgotten about it.
Was that also from your dad? Or that was
no, not really. He does like drum and bass, but I don't think he was really into it when he was my age. Right. He was more into like acid house and I think just stuff like that. So,
was drum and bass around when he was your age? I don't know, how new is it?
He would have been in his like mid-20s in the 90s, I guess. So it would have been. I'm sure he went to a few parties, but
just a few.
Yeah,
that's cool. On maybe more of the music business side, have you been working with any management or marketing teams, or like have gone into any label mailing lists? Or
you had the last release was on a label.
It was.
That you had when you were like emailing people yourself, emailing them. Has that changed, or are you still yourself?
Honestly, that was the last time I sent tracks out, so I think I would still do it the same way.
But for shows,
Sorry?
For shows as well, though. Like for limo parties you did, that was you. Are you working with management or anything like that?
No.
Nice.
It's all me. But,
Yeah, and what we were talking about this recently was for your next EP, which maybe will be this year. You also wanted to release on a label, but like as a release on a label, not as a signed artist, right?
Yeah. So the way it would work is you sign these particular set of tracks to that label, and then they own the rights, but you're not confined to that label. You can still release elsewhere.
Yeah. What's the advantage for that versus releasing it on your own?
I think every label has their own. I mean, obviously every label has their own fan base, but it's also really useful for kind of
for me as a DJ as well, I know that certain labels have a certain aesthetic and a certain type of tracks that they release. So, you know, if I'm after something, if I have an idea and think, oh yeah, this label would really fit, you know, this moment or whatever. So yeah, it's also just good for putting it in the right place and getting the people that would want to hear it to hear it. But so I don't think I would be able to, you know, facilitate it in that way myself.
Yeah. So it's like there's labels that have a consistent following for EDM.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Because I feel like I don't feel like that's reflected in other music. There's maybe like one or two labels that I know I really like that I follow, but
yeah,
I don't know.
It's like, and I feel like there are labels that feel small even though they're super crazy big and successful. Like, you know.
Or they're just sub-labels where they're owned by big three anyway.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of that in dance music. Like a lot of small independent, well, small, but they have like a really, really dedicated following. You know, like people buy all their records and support them, go to all their events and stuff. So it's cool to see, even with like not such a global fan base, they can still, you know, make an impact and, you know, make a living out of music. So yeah, it's super cool to see that.
Nice. With that being said, do you have a dream venue, dream club to play at?
Could you guess one club that maybe every
one club?
DJ wants to play
actually wrote it in my notes. I said Berghain ?
You had to remember.
Yeah, I did. I had to. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, that would be super cool. But yeah,
fair.
I don't know. My dream is just to be able to travel and play music as well. Just doing what I like and being able to travel.
Are there any cities or countries specifically where you think like, oh, that's a really interesting techno scene, you want to go there?
Yeah, Kyiv in Ukraine.
Oh, right.
Looks really cool. Oh. Yeah.
What do they do differently? I
think basically, I don't know too much about it, but from what I've heard, it's kind of has a similar feeling as to partying in Berlin after the wall fell. It has like a real political agenda attached to it, and it's like fighting against, you know, the state in some way. And there's a really, really famous club called K41, and yeah, that looks really cool. But yeah, there's quite a few cities I'd love to go to, like Kyiv. I'd love to go to Detroit. Right. And like LA as well. LA's got a pretty cool techno scene.
Really? That's really cool. Yeah. I'd love to get to know more about that.
That's a bit surprising, honestly. Like Detroit, it makes sense because it's like the origins. But
I've heard LA actually has kind of a large German community from what I've heard. So
do you think that's the
maybe
connection?
Maybe they brought it over. I'm not sure, but I think in terms of like the big connection cities of the world, it makes sense that it would be that way. But I think
that's the connection.
I would expect more East Coast though for techno as well, and for more.
I have no idea. Yeah, like which side it's on, but it's probably all over.
Yeah, for sure.
I also associate it with the cold for some reason. I don't know why.
I definitely see what you're coming from.
It's like colder places have more techno, I think.
Yeah.
So LA seems surprising for that maybe as well, where I'm like, I could see it in New York where it gets super cold.
Yeah, New York as well, actually.
New York, cool. Makes sense. Yeah, it is. That's fun. Let's see. What else? Fun stuff for Hodder.
To select.
Oh, yeah.
Hodder select. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to ask you about collaborations. How do you feel about that? Have you done that yet? What kind of artists or other DJs would you want to collaborate with? Or are you just feeling super like solo? Just want to continue?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always feeling super solo when it comes to music, unfortunately. Yeah. I wish I was more open to sharing, you know, music with people in like a production but I always am very focused on what I want to do. So, but I have like produced with other people, and it's so much fun just to bounce ideas off each other and get on a vibe and hopefully come out with something good. Yeah.
I feel like it's more natural for like digital music, regardless of the genre, to produce on your own. And then when it's more like instrument based, I feel like it makes
right. I mean, you have like the access to every sound source possible. Like, you don't need any other people to trigger a sound for you. You know?
Yeah, and you don't need vocalists. Which is a big, I think, a large part of why
just singing to my laptop.
Yeah,
it's easy.
What about back-to-back shows where you're DJing with someone else?
I've never done a back-to-back show before, but I've you know, like DJ'd alongside some friends before on a lineup.
That was in Denmark, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was fun. And yeah, that, like, I don't know if you really count that as like collaborating because we're doing separate things, but it's just nice to be able to, you know, share an experience with some friends. And
I'd still count it, I think.
Yeah, and that was a very real world experience, it seemed like.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
like the life of a traveling DJ.
Yeah, man, I came back and then I came back to uni, and like the next week it was just like bags under the eyes. And
what happened? You had a gig in Norway?
No, Denmark.
No,
Denmark.
yeah, it was in Aarhus, Denmark.
Right.
And I don't know if am I pronouncing that right?
It
seems
like you are.
There we go. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I just I managed to get that because a friend of mine that I met here who's Danish, he's living back in Denmark at the moment now.
Right.
And yeah, just does parties over there, and we linked up. It was a cool thing.
And then you fly in on the day and perform, and then sleep over and fly back? Or?
No, so I wish.
You stayed in a crazy place, huh?
Yeah, it was really cool actually. It was a super cool place. And yeah, we like took a coach over, me and two friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a 9-hour journey.
I forget that it's so close. It feels like...
right?
I think growing up in the UK, you think of it as like, it's a flight. But then... Yeah.
I mean, it can definitely be a flight. It was a 9-hour coach journey.
But it's like land connected.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think it's just north, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
you went.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it wasn't... Yeah.
Anyways, you took a...
took a 9-hour coach, got there at like 8 in the morning. Obviously got the coach in the evening before in Berlin. Yeah. And then we arrived, and there was like nowhere really for us to sleep, which we didn't know about. But it was okay, we just stayed up and partied, did some DJing, got ready. They had like full CDJ setup in their kind of like little flat arrangement. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was cool. And had a skate park as well.
Yeah. Like right outside your door, huh?
I don't even skate, but
drop in from the window.
Yeah. Jump out of bed.
Like, pair of rollerblades, maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, people like romanticize those crazy, you know, in Bali hotels where you can just where you can just jump out of bed and then you have something right on the water.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you wake up and then just dive in the water. But like you could wake up and just dive into
the concrete.
Take me back.
Yeah. Oh man, that's
cool though, doing a show there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool venue as well.
What was it?
It's called Club 22. Right. I think it's closed now. I think it might be closed for the winter.
Yeah, okay.
Reopening, but
is that outdoors?
No.
Yeah, okay. No. I was thinking maybe it's closed because it's cold. Yeah.
And
what have you got on your notes?
What have I got?
Your handwritten notes.
Yes.
This is the first time it's been handwritten. It's usually on my laptop. But
brilliant.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, we have.
I always appreciate real writing.
Thank you. Actually,
it's also good that there was one episode that I was watching back, and you could see me. To be fair, I was answering someone that was coming for the next episode, but me like checking my WhatsApp.
That's
such a bad image to have.
Oh gosh. I mean, this is more of a like general question, but you definitely want to stay in Berlin for a long time, right? Or
I honestly don't know.
Don't know.
Mm-hmm. No, I really don't know at the moment. I think it's definitely plausible that I'll stay, but yeah.
It's a good home base, I feel like, geographically for dance music.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, other than techno, I mean, general just techno-ness. Has Berlin influenced? I mean, how has Berlin influenced your sound? Like, do you feel like your stuff has gotten more, like, gotten darker or
lighter?
Or lighter? Maybe it has.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening in Northampton.
Come to Berlin is a beam of light compared to Northampton. Yeah, I'm sure it has changed my sound, definitely. Mm-hmm. It's hard to really track what the influence is into that. Obviously, like, you know, everyone's sound is changing all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure how much of that is just through natural ways or through something from the city. But I think, like, just going to lots of different clubs and hearing really great DJs play music, you just absorb a lot of it, and it gives you ideas. So
when you're in clubs and it's semi-research, I guess, but mostly enjoyment. Definitely. Are you paying attention to what is like paying attention to the music from an analytical standpoint as well, or just enjoying it?
I'd say like 90% just enjoying it. But I think there's that little part of the brain that every producer can never turn off. Whenever they go somewhere, they're always analysing something.
And when something interesting happens, you're like
definitely
listening for it.
Yeah, no, but it's mainly just enjoying it and feeling the room, I guess.
I feel like you can switch over sometimes, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Know. Sometimes I wonder if filmmakers are like watching movies, being
definitely,
you know, or can they just sit in the dark and enjoy it, you know? We don't know. Yeah. But I actually had a question for you on the listening side of music, because as someone who, I could just put my headphones in all day and just ignore everybody and listen to music. How do you find the time to take breaks from enjoying music or making music, and just, do you let yourself ever kind of have times of silence, or are you just constantly, you know, taking in music at just a crazy level?
No, definitely. I mean, yeah, I'd say most of the times, you know, music's being listened to. I think like most people are like that, you know, whether they're like just like on the train or something, everyone's got their headphones in. But yeah, I don't like to listen to music all the time. Like my ears get fatigued, and
true.
I just need some time to have a bit of silence maybe. But it's normally just going for a walk or cooking some. Even then when I cook, I have music on. So
it's
I suppose
hard to wean yourself off of that.
Yeah, to me it's more just like taking breaks from really deep listening sessions. Not deep, but you know, just
like
just really active. Active listening.
Active listening. Oh my!
Exactly that. Yeah.
And do you find those breaks are helpful when you're making music, or do you just knock out 8 hours of work hunched over a computer?
You knock out 8 hours, I feel.
I do, but I also think it's really beneficial to take breaks.
Yeah.
So I wish I did it more. Although I was saying to Sebastian the other day that I'm trying this thing recently where I'm just gonna maybe spend half an hour just knocking out a quick loop, and then leaving it. Next time I want to do something, make another loop and just make as many until like a month's gone by, and then go back. If I've made like 10, I'll pick 4 or 5 that I like, and then finish them. So I don't really waste time. But I've never done that before, so we'll see how it goes.
That's a really cool method.
Yeah.
Half an hour is tight though. That's not a lot of time.
Yeah, it is quite. Yeah.
But it's
do you
very
produce
cool.
quickly like that though? Because for me, it takes an hour and a bit to get a track done.
Yeah, no, it really depends actually. Sometimes it can take a while. Sometimes it flows really, really naturally and is just a quick thing. But I think in general, I definitely prefer to work fast and then forget about it and then come back to it another day. You gotta let it brew a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are all of your tracks built the same, or sometimes do you include certain elements first? Like, do you start very traditionally, bass, drums, and then so on? Or you said you start with synths more?
Yeah, definitely. It's probably either drums or synths, but that's basically techno already. So I like starting with synths because I like to get like the soul of the track, onto the canvas, which is normally the synth, right? So the thing that gives it the mid-range soul, and then you can worry about the low end and the hi-hats later, which is like more of the rhythmic stuff. So
it's also harder, I think, to write a synth like synth chords and everything to a bass versus the other way around.
I mean, I always used to start with like kick, then bass, then hi-hat, like just build the drums first. But I'm always trying to find ways to do things differently or break out of these kind of constraints that I've built upon myself just through learning things. It's annoying because you learn things properly and then at some point you want to be like, well, actually I want to try something new, and you I have a hard time dealing with that. Trying to break out of it. It's
almost easier to not learn the rules and be creative than learn them and then break them.
And you could listen to like a track you did 3 or 4 years ago. And it would be like badly mixed and stuff, but
the soul's there.
The soul's there,
and maybe the soul's more there than now.
Yeah, I think so. You had like this curiosity that is lost through like more knowledge. So
I feel that 100% looking back at old projects. And do you feel like you have a lot of projects finished and just sitting there that are just waiting? Or, I mean, I feel like a lot of producers have this.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have a lot, but I wouldn't say many of them are like, quite a lot of them I suppose are finished, but I don't really plan on doing anything with them. You know?
Sometimes you just gotta keep them in the vault.
Yeah.
And they don't see the light of day, but they're there.
Exactly. I mean, it's like just a therapeutic thing and a fun thing to make music. So you get something out of that, and then if you have something at the end, it's really cool.
Yeah,
it doesn't always, you know, meet your desires. But
does the fun ever get taken out of it in the process when you're
definitely, 100%. Like talking about, you know, having all this knowledge about how to do things properly and methodically. Yeah, it can definitely take the fun out of it and the artistic side out of it, and it can become more of a analytical process, which you know kills the vibe totally.
Yeah, I feel like I work way more when I am not trying to be productive than when I'm actually trying to be productive, and then I get like I just don't enjoy it as much, and it's slower, and I'm like it's not as creative.
Yeah, I'm never like, I'm going to sit down and make a track.
Yeah,
like,
it's going to be
I am,
amazing.
and every time it's not good.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I just do it, then it's good.
Yeah. It just, for sure. And then where does that inspiration come from? Like, I mean, obviously you're listening to a lot of music. Do you ever take a track and have a reference? Do you, when people are, I don't know, surroundings, like how does that when the inspiration does spark and you get that really awesome idea for a track, where does that usually come from? Just playing around in the dark?
Yeah, definitely. It's a mixture of, I'd say like technology is probably my biggest inspiration. So it's not so much an exterior source like you would get with a lot of other music where it's like, you know, I walked through the park today and had this beautiful idea. It's more, I went onto my laptop and I was just pissing about with this plugin and it created this weird sound that I thought, I can build something on top of that. Yeah. But I do also have some themes and you know, like inspiration from just general life. Like a big fan of science fiction and the futuristic sounds that, you know, the producers create. Right. So that's like obviously really inspirational for techno.
And for films? Or
for films, TV shows,
What kind of stuff?
Like Doctor Who. Huge fan of Doctor Who. And just like, I think it's cool how producers can create this sound that makes you think of the future, but you start to wonder why does it make you think of the future? Like, what about these bleepy, robot-y sounds makes you think of the future? Like, it kind of makes sense, but also music in 1,000 years' time
isn't going to be.
It might not sound like that. We have no idea what it will sound like. So,
Do you have a favorite doctor?
Yeah, David Tennant, 100%.
Oh, the best.
He's the best.
He is the best
I think, it would have been changed if I was a bit younger watching it when it came out in the 60s and 70s. But no, he was
Number
like
10.
When I was
for sure.
a young child, like in my prime of watching it, he was just the best. And I know like pretty much everyone around my age would agree. Yeah.
Well, he was like the first one you like could watch with new stuff. If it does that make sense,
true,
like you'd have to be older to watch the Doctor before him.
I did start watching Christopher Eccleston.
Oh, okay, right.
He's great as well, and Matt Smith's good as well. He went to he lives from Northampton actually.
Oh,
I think.
Shout out.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So Doctor Who and what else? Is that the main inspiration? Then it's kind of
no. It's just like I love a lot of sci-fi films and like Star Wars is great.
Yeah.
Who did the scoring for Doctor Who? Is it one person that's been consistent, or they switch it out?
It was a really, really great pioneering producer at the BBC studios. I think her name was Suzanne something. I can't remember her last name.
We'll find it and put it in there.
Yeah, put it in there. I'm ashamed I can't remember the name, but yeah.
Huh. Yeah. It's interesting. I never like watched Doctor Who that much, but I never noticed the music for it, I think.
Really?
No, it was much more like the puppets and the CGI and stuff that interested me when I watched it. Yeah.
Maybe it was just David Tennant.
I mean, he is a legend. He's a legend.
Yeah.
So many legends.
And do you ever think about syncing for film and TV? I mean,
I would love to. Yeah,
that'd be really cool as well.
I'd love to do that,
especially in a sci-fi film or show. Have a little track.
Yeah, right. That would be so much fun.
Cool.
That would be cool. Yeah, theme song.
Yeah. What kind of, in terms of if you were to write for that kind of thing, what type of sci-fi intrigues you for that? Is it still very much the like I don't know why, but maybe I'd categorize Star Trek and Doctor Who similarly because they're like adventure.
Yeah,
it's reasonable. Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't be too picky. I would just enjoy. I would just take it and be happy to make sounds for something, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else in music apart? So not DJing, not producing techno, and not doing scoring. Is there any other genres that call to you at all?
Well, I love jazz.
Yes, great jazz drummer, by the way. A very, very great jazz drummer.
Something that we all share, a love for jazz. And I would love to play in a band one day, you know, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. It's also nice, I think, to have a break from doing, at least for me, for doing digital music production. Yeah. To have a break and like do instrumental stuff.
Yeah,
and
play an acoustic instrument and get that feeling from it.
Yeah, scratch a different part of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's also just so natural when you have like quantized drums or like a very four to the floor kick, or you can just being able to have some little dingy hi-hats and being loose. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting that you're clearly very rhythm based, where you are a drummer and do techno, which is like rhythm is what's interesting about it usually, I think, but you still start with synths. That seems surprising to me.
But I mean, most of my synths and a lot of techno synths are quite rhythmic anyway.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we've done quite a lot of time. We're coming up on an hour.
Oh my! Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Albert Einstein said.
Yeah.
Oh, this was so fun, Oscar. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You have your show on the 25th.
Yes.
People go buy tickets.
At Void with Limo.
Absolutely.
Yes. Do you know who else is on the list?
I can't remember right now, unfortunately, but that will be great.
In the description, go buy stuff.
Please go see Hodder. It's gonna be fun.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Nice one. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It's been a great time.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.